The Royal Coachman has its origins in the Coachman, an English fly from 1830. It was popularized in the United States after that, and Mary Orvis Marbury features a number of Coachman and its variations in her book Favorite Flies and Their Histories, published in 1892. Eventually, the Royal Coachman evolved from the Coachman, and in the 1930s, Richard Hewitt adapted the Royal Coachman and combined it with his Bivisible to create the Royal Coachman Bivisible. I am tying that fly on a number 10 2x long hook with black thread, using golden pheasant tippets for the tail, as is typical with the Royal Coachman. And I am tying that tippet all the way up the hook shank to keep the shank even. The butt and thorax on the Royal are Peacock herl. So I have a single strand of Peacock herl I'm going to tie in at the front of the hook, again, to keep the stuff on the hook even, so that I create a nice even body. Wrap back to the tail, and then just take that single fiber and wind it on edge to create that nice square look on the butt. How many wraps kind of depends on how large a butt I want, but I'm trying to keep it square, and then wrap down over that again, bringing all the way back. If I were to cut it right there, then I get that lump, and I'm trying to avoid that lump in the middle of the body. Clip off the extra. And then I'm using a strand of 240 denier red. I'm going to take my thread back to the butt to tie in the floss. Just wet the floss there to get it to stay together. And then what I'm going to do is wrap up back to where I want the floss body to begin, which is not more than half of the shank length, or the halfway point on the shank. And just straighten out my floss threads, and then I'm going to wind back down, and I'm maybe even getting a little bit long in the body section here. That's okay. I will cover that up with the thorax, which is another wrapping of Peacock herl. I'm going to wrap down and then wrap back up towards the eye to create that nice smooth red floss body, and I'll tie it off right there. With the Bivisible, I have a lot of stuff going on up in front of the body, so I want to make sure that I'm leaving plenty of room for all of that. I'll go ahead and clip out my extra floss, take another Peacock herl, and bring my thread up here where I tied the other one in. Tie in that herl, wrap back to where I want that thorax, and it can be up over the end of that floss. I really want this thorax piece to be pretty much in the middle of my hook shank. A little forward is okay. wrap to get the same size as I have at the butt and tie that off. Go 3 wraps under, a few wraps underneath, and I'll clip that out. The bivisible nature of this fly then is a darker hackle immediately over the thorax with a lighter hackle in front. And Hewitt tied his bivisibles in a number of different colors and shades. This one I'm using a furnace for the dark hackle, and I'm going to just pull a few fibers away from the butt and clip those. I get the little tiny barbs then that will help me tie it in. And I'm going to go ahead and pull that thread up a little ways, clip out that errant barb, and then I'll wrap. And it's a very tight wrap and very full. This is what makes this dry fly float and imitates the legs on whatever insect is being imitated. It really is more of an attractor fly than it is particularly an imitation fly. But the dark hackle is for the fish. I'm trying to pull back on all of this fiber so that I don't get it trapped over the eye. Wrap up over that, and I can grab that tip, see if it'll snap out. Okay, good. Then in front of that darker hackle is a lighter hackle, and I'm using a cream for that. I am tying it with the shiny side forward. That will make the fibers bend back. Makes it a little bit easier for tying in at the end, but with a dry fly hackle, doesn't really matter a lot, I think. Yes, traditionally, a dry fly hackle has those fibers bending forward, and I might have tied the brown ones forward and the light ones back, but I think it works either way. How particular I want to be with that process again. Pull everything back, wrap up over the end of that light hackle feather so I can get it to tie in there. Okay. And then I think it's a pretty heavy stem. I'll just go ahead and cut that out, and then there's some forward leaning fibers here too that I want to take care of. And then finish wrapping my head. And then to avoid trapping fibers, what I'm going to do is use my pen as a half hitch tool and do double half hitches over the end, and that will secure in takes the place of a whip finisher, makes it a little bit easier to get wrapped in over that head. And then I can clip out my thread, and I'm going to put a drop of cement, head cement on that. I do use a diluted goop, stick a needle in my jar, grab a drop, and just dab it on the head. That'll soak in, maybe a little bit more. Soak into the thread and create a secure knot. a Bivisible Royal Coachman.